So we're the development team for x0rz, and this is our project that we have developed over the semester. My name is William Raziano.
My name is Hardika Patel.
I'm Jonathan Nguyen.
And I'm Todd Mulder.
First thing we're going to talk about today is our user interface, and Hardika is going to be the one who's going to tell us about that.
Thank you. User interface. Once the user open up app, it will lead to the welcome screen, which allow user to enter username and password for the login. If user doesn't have account, it will allow user to create account. Once the user log in, it will lead to the game lobby window, which allow user to select games as a player wise, or they can search also the players and join the game. Also they can create own lobby for the game. As a design wise, we decide to use a Java FX applications, which is run on any operating systems, which is also can run on a multiple mobile app operating systems. Also for the design wise, I use a Java FX graphic support, which allow me to create nice backgrounds and then colors, allowing to put different colors plus fonts. Also the box, vertical box and horizontal box. Also I use the CSS stylings. That's allow me to put the nice buttons, colors, background color, plus the create the shadow on the font. Next we will talk about the gameplay. Jonathan will talk about the gameplay. Thank you.
Thank you, Hardika.
So the gameplay is a turn-based card game, and it'll consist of a deck of 15 cards and 2 to 4 players. Now, to begin the game, every player gets 1 card, and during a player's turn, they get an additional card and will choose one of those 2 cards to play. There are 8 different types of cards and 8 different types of effects, and then what will happen is the cards played, the effects played, turn end, and the next player goes. And the objective of the game is to be essentially the last person standing. Different cards may knock a player out of the game, for example. And then that would once the last player is remaining, they win a round. And a game encompasses X number of rounds, which is based on the number of players in the game. So let's say if there are 2 players in a game, your objective is to win 7 rounds, and so on and so forth. Now, the game does actually have a social mechanic to it, more so than just the fact that you're playing with another person. We are planning to implement a chat box and the ability to talk to other players, maybe suggest something to them like, you should play this card against this person and I won't target you next turn. So you can form alliances, maybe remind someone that, oh, this card was already played, so it's not in the deck anymore. And it adds this next level of gameplay to it, something akin to playing games in real life with people. And so on the implementation side, the client is actually mostly just sort of a reader, interpreter of the user's input. And then it'll send it off to the server, and the server handles most of the logic, updates and everything like that, and then it will send it back to the client, it'll update, and then continuous loop of input, send off, receive, update. And actually, because of how simple the commands are, it actually ends up being a very seamless process of going back and forth. And actually now we're going to go check on the server side with Todd here.
Thanks, John. As John mentioned, the main driver behind client-server communications are going to be strings sent from the client to the server, or the server to the client, that represent commands, starting with the command name and then listing any other parameters that modify that command as arguments. Once received, by the server manager through threaded sockets, we then tear apart the string into its components and load up our command prototypes. These are built in on the server and are used to execute based on arbitrary input and arbitrary command argument lengths. So once we have these commands cloned and executed, we then have a process or a seaming of processing things in real time. The first thing we need to do, though, before we can do that is check our running sockets in our server implementation after getting it and initializing the server. Once we check the sockets, we'll find any messengers that are waiting to send us information. We'll get the input, we'll split up the args as I mentioned earlier, and we'll start cloning commands as we need them based on the input string parameters. After we've cloned our commands and we've initialized them, we'll go ahead and update the server by executing these commands that have came in since the last game loop. And we'll finish off the game loop synchronization by handling any output and sending any messages back to clients that are expecting them. We used a few different notable patterns that are in the Gang of 4 in this implementation. As I've already noticed, the command patterns, we actually implemented the prototype structure within it, or the prototype pattern within it, to get more functionality and flexibility with our objects. We have implemented an adapter and a bridge for the different type of socket applications we can use and have in here. That way we can vary the implementation and interface differently between the two. The only other notable pattern we've implemented in here besides what I've mentioned already is an observer on the sockets to get these, to know when we found a messenger or not. All of these things are very complicated and work together in tandem through common OO practices. We remove all the hairy details from the front end and the logic handling and put it all on the back end. And we make sure it works before we implement it. This all done and said, we'd like to now start talking about the monetary implications of our, I'm going to start that over. So, that being said, I'd like to now go over to the monetary aspect of our project so we can start talking about how we plan to profit from these systems we've set up so far. And here's Will.
Thank you, Todd. So from a marketing standpoint, the first problem that we encounter is how do we get people involved in our game? Right off the bat, making a free-to-play game is the obvious choice. It does generate a very strong sense of community. You get good social interaction, and you bring a fun factor, also very approachable to pretty much everybody. So that being said, we started looking at, okay, well, it's free, so how do we actually get money from this? How do we gain money? So one of the things that we thought about was advertisement. Now, advertisement, if anyone has played a game before that was free, you know about pop-up ads. And pop-up ads, well, they're kind of bad. They don't do very well. They tend to alienate the players. They also tend to just aggravate people in such a way that they want to take their money elsewhere or just give up on this game altogether. So the next thing we looked at was microtransactions. Now with microtransactions, we're actually allowing the players to customize their experience and also their interactions. You know, if somebody sees something that's on another player's the back of their cards, they're going to be like, wow, I like that. Hey, I want to do that too. So it generates more money almost exponentially. So I did include a graphic here from EA's website where they outline where their money is generated. Now, we have a free-to-play game, so some of this stuff is not going to even apply. But the things that are important are their advertisement gains over the last 4 years has been only about 13%, whereas all their extra content has been over 23%. So this is pretty substantial to us. It's a great way for us to pay our developers, continue with the game, make the game more, bring more content in the game, maybe get licenses so that we can actually generate more of these skins and whatnot. Also for upkeep of the game because we have a server running constantly. And after all these things are realized, the next thing we're looking at is, well, profit. So I'd like to go ahead and bring the development team back out here. And if you have any questions, we would be very happy to hear them.
Thanks.
Thank you.